Welcome to Afros and Audio's Black History Month interview series. My name is Talib Jasir, founder and CEO of Afros and Audio Podcast Festival, the first two-day conference for and by Black independent podcast creatives and audio professionals. I'm excited to spotlight 28 outstanding indie podcast creatives who answered the call to be a part of this series. Today, my guest is Nicole Walker. Welcome and thank you for being here. How are you today?
I'm good. Yay. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. So before we get into the podcast, tell people a little bit about yourself.
So whenever I'm asked this question, I always ask, how much time do we have for me to answer that question? So I always try to think of the most concise answer. About me, I'm a mother. I am a podcaster. I'm a podcast launch coach. I am an international speaker. I am a sponsorship manager. What else? I love to travel. I'm a foodie, right? And I just really like making life easier for people, so to say, by giving them the information, the tools, or the assistance that they need to be successful.
That's awesome. So talk to us about WinHers United. Talk to us about the name, when you got started, your why.
Okay, the day after this episode airs, so March 1st, WinHers United will be 5 years old. So back on March 1st, 2018, I started WinHers United, which actually wasn't called WinHers United when I started, but I'll get into that in a second. But I started it on International Women's Day because it is a podcast that features women of color entrepreneurs, and it is to give business, mindset, personal development, and self-care insight and advice. Basically, follow these women on their journeys, learn some of their best tips and tricks in relation to those 4 topics. And it was really my effort to level the playing field. I felt like there needed to be a space specifically for women of color, right? For me personally, I wanted to know more about entrepreneurship. So I decided to interview these women so that I can learn and also spread this knowledge to other people. And it has been like truly a remarkable journey, right? Because when I started it to help others, but I didn't realize how much it would help me. So every episode, like sometimes I feel like the person is specifically talking to me, or even when I go back and I have to edit the episode, like it's the exact message that I need at the exact time, which I think is super, super amazing. So when I first started it, it was called She Leads Podcast, Leadership Empowerment for Women of Color. And the premise, which is still the same, was self-leadership and leadership of people, right? And 2 or 3 years in, I ended up getting a cease and desist letter, which I had to change the name, right? Either let go of the podcast, come up under this company, or change the name. And I decided to change it to WinHers United because I believe that we are all winners in our own right. So each woman is an amazing winner, right? Winning in this entrepreneurial journey, whether it's in the beginning, getting over that fear, or just having the courage to start, or whether it's winning because they just made 7 and 8 figures, right? Because women of all walks of life, so to say, have been on the podcast, from early entrepreneurship to seasoned and making a little bit of money to making 8 figures, right? And united because like we're coming together, right? We're coming together. Another premise of the podcast was collaboration over competition. Like you can come together, you can celebrate other women, even women in your same industry, and it doesn't take away from you. So really wanting to reinforce that abundance mindset, and show that we're better together. Like I came from corporate America, still in corporate America, but in corporate America, I saw a lot of cattiness between women and a lot of fighting for this invisible one seat at the table. And I wanted to create my own table and show that no one else can take away what's rightfully ours.
Absolutely. I love that. So you alluded to it, but how would you say you personally, there is one real big takeaway that you could say that you've really grown inside of the podcast?
Yeah, so that goes back to, I would say, like the start of the podcast, right? So I think one of the questions was like, how do you view failure? And it was me coming into this transition of realizing that failure to me personally isn't a thing, right? You either win or you learn, which to me in learning is a win. So realizing that even if I try something new and it doesn't work the way I want it to work, what lessons can I pull from that thing to be and do better next time? So really appreciating the ebbs and flows of life, the ups and downs, however things go, just appreciating everything about it, even if it is a quote unquote failure, right? There's something to glean from that thing. And that is the greatest lesson in relation to podcasting for me.
Yeah, truly. You hit it right on the head. Mistakes, failures, whatever. It's information. It's all information. One of my college professors way back in the day, he would say you could walk down the same street, the same sidewalk for 10, 20 years. And the moment you trip on a crack, you learned a new way to walk down the sidewalk. It's information. It teaches you how to move, how to move differently, how to improve yourself, teaches you experiences that you want and don't want. So absolutely, I completely agree with that. So as you have moved this forward and you've connected with different women, and I definitely don't want you to have to play any favorites, but is there any one or two interviews that you were like, wow, I'm in the right place and this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing?
Yeah. Ironically, I would say it's not any one or two. It's practically every single episode. And it boils down to sometimes we're dressed in the same clothes, like the same colors. Like it blows my mind, just the connectedness and alignment that I've seen. Talking to the different women and hearing them spit out all of the mindset principles and values that I have and hearing them reiterate that, right? It's just, I'm telling you, every single thing about it has let me know that this is the right path for me. I'm not going to pick any favorites, right? I will say the people that like truly enlighten me to a different point of view and looking at things different, those have been like near and dear gems to my heart. So initially in starting the podcast, it was also my venture into taking entrepreneurship more seriously. I started business in the past, didn't really take myself seriously. So this was like, what can I do and really take myself seriously? And then I'll never forget, one of the women talked about an exit strategy for your business. And for me, like starting a business and running a business was the end all be all, right? What do you mean exit strategy? What do you mean I should be trying to sell this thing and make more money to then do other bigger and better things? Those gems like that open me up to ideas that were beyond my current thinking. Like those are some of my near and dear lessons.
Nice. And so when you think about the impact of this, and I know we have daughters that are a similar age, right? And they're just entering this space, they're entering the workforce, entering their own entrepreneurial dreams. But with them in mind, and also the other women that you hope to receive these messages, what is the impact that you either started out with or where you want WinHers United to make the biggest impact?
I like that question. The true impact is really to get people to shift their mindsets in various different ways in relation to the importance of personal development and continuing to grow yourself and learn new things, and the importance of self-care, which is something that it's a trend amongst a lot of the episodes, is that is the last thing, or often the last thing that women think about, because we're so busy running households and taking care of everything else around us that we forget to take care of and pour into ourselves. And I would also say the impact, like I thought about it one time, or I don't even know if I want to say one time, but it came to me after a while, this should be like taught in college, or this should be something that's listened to in high school, because I think personally, entrepreneurship or even having an entrepreneurial mindset is important for people that even choose to work in corporate, nonprofit, private sectors, but not to be the founders or CEOs of the business, but to be employees in the business. Like you need to have an entrepreneurial mindset, right? So getting these lessons early, which is another reason why I started the podcast. Like it took years. Like I was well into my 30s before I realized that I had the power to create the life that I wanted, right? Like I accepted the life that I have received, and I thought that was it. And then when I realized, no, this is not it. What don't you like? What do you want to change? Then change it. Figure out what steps you need to take and do it. So wanting to shorten the learning curve for people. The thing that I've also learned that kind of annoys me is that, what do they say? You can lead them to the water, but you can't make them drink. Is some valuable information in these podcast episodes that are free, right? But you can't make the people come take the information, right? Like, I want people to want to grow, want to learn, and utilize the resources that they have. And my impact is to continue to, my tagline, be empowered and empower on. Empower the people with the information that they need to be successful so that they can turn around and empower other people with the same.
Nice. I love that. So as you have grown, you started 5 seasons ago, coming March 1st, which congratulations on that. It's a big deal to still be in the game and still be podcasting. And still, I'm talking to you and I can tell there's still a lot of enthusiasm for the work and the work that's still to come. And knowing that there are some days where it's like, what am I doing? And do I want to continue?
Yes.
So what is it about this work for you and the interviews that you're doing and knowing that there is impact and a catalyst for change inside of it that does keep you committed to it, even when there are times where you're wondering, are you in an echo chamber? And I don't know if that's anything you ever think about, but what keeps you here? What keeps you going?
Yeah. So I can relate to those feelings. Let me just say that. And also thank you for the congratulations, right? And it's a few things, right? One is, I'll never forget, there was a time when I was sort of like, forget this podcast thing, right? And it was when my grandfather, who was more like a father figure to me, he passed away. And I had to deal with traveling up to New Jersey, where I'm from, and going to the funeral and all of that stuff, but I still had podcast stuff to do. And then what came to my mind is that somebody needs me. Like, I'm not going to be able to be there for whichever person, needs the information that I'm putting out this week. So another thing that I said when I started my podcast was that I wanted to change the world one person at a time, right? So whether that's one listener, that information could possibly be changing this one person, right? So knowing that someone somewhere needs the information that I'm putting out, that's something that has helped me to continue forth when I didn't want to. Another thing is, it'll be times where things are going on in life, like life is lifing, right? And I don't know, my moods go up and down. I'm a woman, right? We get moody. Humans get moody, right? But they say women more. But anywho, it's another story. But there are times when that happens. And like, even literally before the interview, I'm going through, oh, I don't feel like it. Oh, I wish this person would reschedule or whatever. And literally, soon as I get on the call with the person, like, it's just that energy, that connection, the just learning. I love to learn about people and I love to hear their stories, right? So it automatically just kicks in as soon as I get on the call, no matter how bad I felt the moment before, no matter how much I didn't want to do it the moment before. Like, it's just something that kicks in. Like, I really, truly enjoy connecting with people, learning about them, and shining a light on those that need a light shined on them. So yeah, those are the two things that have been keeping me going.
That's awesome. And as you have been a part of this for quite some time, have you been able to identify your audience? And if so, what are some of the ways in which you engage?
Ooh, identify my audience. Yeah. So initially, I'll take this twofold, right? Like, initially, my audience in my mind were women of color entrepreneurs, right? Like, I'm interviewing women of color entrepreneurs. I'm for women of color entrepreneurs. But then I realized that it's also aspiring entrepreneurs, right? Like, people that want to go into entrepreneurship and want to learn about the caveats or the facets of that world, right? Then I also learned by just talking to people. Like, it's a coworker that I have that she has no desire to be an entrepreneur, but she enjoys listening to my podcast for the motivation, right? So people that actually want to be inspired and be motivated and just learn about other people. So I'll say, by targeting, set out for my podcast to be for expanding my mind, so to say, in relation to who that person really is, from going from just entrepreneurship to those that are actually aspiring and want to plan ahead, and then also to talking to people and learning about who they are, and then seeing how the podcast is also for them.
And I know that you have done like some events in the past. Has that been an extension of the podcast? And if so, how and why did you decide to do that?
Yeah, so it was so amazing, right? So I have been event planning for, look, I don't want to tell my age, not tell my age, right? So I've been event planning for 23 years and probably prior to that, right? Because I would throw my daughter a birthday party every single year of her birthday, and she's 23 now, right? So I had been doing that for years. I had thought about doing it in business, but never had the the push to do. And I ended up helping another podcasting conference organize a portion of their event, the Women in Podcasting portion. And in doing that, it reignited this love and allowed me to see that, hey, you can take this thing that you've been doing personally and actually do it in this professional journey that you have going on. So that was actually the reminder that I needed and the push that I needed to start it on my own. So back in 2020, I started the WinHers United Virtual Summit and basically brought back speakers, previous speakers from the podcast, and had them focus solely on one topic. Because like I talked about, like on the podcast, we talk about business, mindset, personal development, and self-care. So we go on this journey that takes you a few different places. But at the summit, they come in and they talk about a particular topic, but I also include topics of those 4 pillars. So you'll get those 4 things in there from different people or during the different panels. And yeah, and it's been really good. Like it just married everything that I really enjoy doing. It is another tough thing though, that I'll say, just being completely transparent, right? Because when you know you have something that's amazing, what's good. Initially, I want to say the first year it was free. The first year was free. The second time I had it, it was almost free. And to not see as many people as you want to see actually attend that thing, it can be disheartening and make you wonder, what am I doing? So every year that I do the summit, I wonder, am I going to do it again? Because I truly value impact and making a difference. I know the information is good, but why aren't all the people taking advantage of the thing, right? So yes, it has been an extension. You know, how long it will be or will it continue to be, I don't know. I've also toyed around with changing the focus and focusing it more on podcasting, since that's where my business direction has gone, so that I can also generate clients for my business and my money-making activities. Yeah, so to be continued.
I really appreciate the fact, as a fellow event creator, it is challenging. And part of the reason for even this opportunity to spotlight, when I consider this an opportunity for myself as well to talk with you, is that there is a lot of brilliance inside of the things that independent podcast creatives and audio professionals are creating. And a lot of times the difference is that marketing engine, that funding engine that gets the word out and helps you to expand your reach, but you stick with it and you begin to see how it begins to shift and change, but also in that you're committed to what you're committed to and you have an understanding of what it is that you're doing. And that for some people is rare. Some of us do things aimlessly. Some of us do things and throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. But you have reached a point in your career where you're like, I'm very clear about why I'm here and what I'm doing. And I think that really helps ease those growing pains, because let's be honest, there's going to be a lot of growing pains inside of creating and inside of wanting people to get it, pick up what you're putting down. The fulfillment is where I tend to focus myself. I'm fulfilled inside of what it is that I'm creating. And I can tell that you're fulfilled in what it is that you're creating. So keep going and it's going to come. You know that.
I like that. I needed to hear that though, because it is a fulfillment that is out of this world, right? That numbers can't equate to or match. So I agree with that. And I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I would say, listen, if it was a numbers thing, then I failed, but I didn't at all. I'm happy as hell with the outcome, what is created. And that's when you are purpose driven in that way. The other stuff is just noise. The other stuff is just measurements that are external. And I choose to do my own internal measurement of what success looks like. You winning. It's all good. All right. So as you think about the last year, even over the last 5 seasons, I don't know if you chop them up into years or how you do your seasons. How do you do your seasons?
So it actually changed over time. So initially it was like how it landed, right? So one season happened to be 18 episodes, which ran over the course of 4 months, right? And it happened to be that because that was the number of women who actually showed up for their interview when I put out the call for season 1, right? So that set the baseline. And then from season 1 through 7, it was 18 episodes per season over 4 months. What happened during season 7 is that I ended up with a throat infection and I couldn't talk. Imagine a podcaster that can't talk. I was like, I need to talk. And I didn't do what I teach my clients to do, is batch record. So the one time, I don't know if that was the first time or what, but the fact that I hadn't batch recorded and I couldn't talk led me to then have to do every other week production, right? So then I slowed down and I did every other week. So I broke it down to 9 episodes in a season. And I actually liked the way that worked as far as my work-life balance, right? Like I was starting to feel overwhelmed and out of sorts. So then I said, hey, this is a happy accident, right? So now it is 9 episodes per season, and I usually do 2 seasons a year. One year I did straight through. Like it was actually the best year for numbers, right? So I went season after season. I produced 54 episodes because 2 of the weeks ran over. So 2 episodes came out that week. I don't know if that's something that I'll ever do again, but as of now, it is 2 seasons per year. They run from January through the end of April, and then from July through the end of October. And that gives me a summertime break as well as a Christmas holiday break.
That's cool. I'm so glad I asked you that, because it's important for people to understand that just because it starts a way doesn't mean it has to end that way or be that way as you continue to move it forward. It gets to adjust and adapt. You get to adjust and adapt inside of it. So I think that's great information for people to know. And I always say the universe is working on our behalf, even when it feels like it isn't. So I'm sure your throat infection didn't feel like the universe was supporting you, but the universe.
Listen, I thought I was headed up out of here. That was a hot mess, but it led to more peace and more balance in my life.
Absolutely. All right. The question I was going to ask you before we went into the season thing was about your biggest podcast win. That has been a win, but what else would you consider to be a win since you started your podcast?
Yeah, so one of the wins, a major win, like it brought tears to my eyes, was being the first ever winner of the 2020 Best Black Business Podcast winner, right? The Black Podcasting Awards, their first year ever. I was the inaugural winner of this particular segment. So super, super excited about that. And I would also say being nominated for other awards since then. Last year, I was nominated for the International Women in Podcasting Award for a moment of entrepreneurial inspiration, right? The thing about me, and it goes back to that purpose-driven thing, right? Like I've always wanted my work to speak for itself. Like I learned in corporate, it's all about whose shoulder you rub with and stuff like that. And I've never truly been that kind of person. Like I've been a person that produces quality stuff. I believe in operating in excellence. And I always wanted to be seen for that, right? So for me to win this award and not know any of the judges, not know any of the people behind the scenes, like it really spoke to my heart and let me know that I was on the right path.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that as well. And wishing you many more awards.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So as you are entering your 11th season and you feel like, okay, I've done this, I've done that, and I did that too. Where do you go from here? Where does your mind take you when you think about this year and beyond for WinHers United podcast?
Oh, that's a good question. I love that question. So a few things, right? One being, I was thinking about taking all of the audio from the summit and repurposing that into an educational series for the podcast, right? Another idea I've had is to do a Where Are They Now segment, because I don't bring back any of the previous guests, right? I want you to continue to learn about new women because there's so many amazing women of color entrepreneurs doing amazing things, right? And I do want to tack on another thing that I missed in the beginning, right? Another reason why I wanted to do this is because I was coming out of a dark place of not realizing that so many people were out here being great. Like I was in the wrong circles and doing the wrong things, right? And when I started my podcast, like I actually thought I was the first person in the world that wanted to do this whole women empowerment thing, right? Because I wasn't in that mindset. And me putting myself into that mindset shifted everything around me. The people I saw, the things I partook in. And it was just so amazing. So I just had to add that in. But yeah, so I want to show different women, right? But I also know just from being connected to these women now, like their journeys are continuing to unfold and continuing to evolve. And many of them have asked to be brought back, right? So a Where Are They Now segment, as well as I was just at a podcasting conference in January of this year, and a person talked about how to turn an interview style podcast into a narrative series. So even thinking about taking some of these episodes and doing a narrative series, right? Because a lot of people, they talk about leaving corporate America for full-time entrepreneurship. They talk about overcoming depression, overcoming all kind of stuff. Like all kind of stories are nestled in these episodes, right? So taking those stories and creating a narrative series around it. So many things on the horizon for it. Exactly where, how, what, is TBD, to be determined.
Okay. All right. I respect that. I received that, and I see it all for you. So that's awesome. Talk a little bit about the podcast launch business that you have.
Ooh, okay. Look, I'll talk about it with a caveat, right? So I started helping people create podcasts because people asked me, right? That was never, ever in my mind frame. When I started the podcast, I actually wanted to start a leadership development company and teach people how to lead themselves and others more effectively. Hence, She Leads Podcasts. And people started asking me how to become a podcaster. So I created a webinar. I called it Podcasting Exposed, an interrogative method to becoming a podcaster, right? Who, why, what, when, where, those things all answered. And then after that, people wanted me to help them one-on-one. And I'll never forget one of the people that asked me to help them one-on-one. Like I was so like, no, like even, let me take a step back. Even with the webinar, like I didn't want to do it to the point where I was sending them other information, right? Because this is nothing's new under the sun, right? You could get information from anywhere, right? So this is a true testament to people want you. Like you and your thing, people truly want you, because if they wanted someone else, they could go get it from somewhere else, right? And she wanted me to put out this webinar, and I was so hesitant that I was sending her information from other resources. Here, you could use this, you could use that. She wouldn't even check out any of that stuff. She was like, when you're ready to give me what I'm asking you for, then I'll be ready to receive it. And I'm that blew me away, right? Like it literally blew me away. So shortly after doing the webinar, I started one-on-one coaching. And I've been doing that for, I think, 2 years now. But actually in that process, I have determined that I don't know if it's actually my favorite thing, to be honest, the one-on-one coaching, right? Because I do know the knowledge of becoming a podcaster and people do look to me for that. I am in the process of changing the way that looks for my business. So I do believe I'm going to lean more into a digital product that gives the people the information they need to become a podcaster, whereby I don't have to be their one-on-one coach to do.
Yeah, no, that's great. And again, another area where you experimented, you tried it, you did it, you were like, okay, now I get to do it differently. And that's important. Again, as a creative, as an entrepreneur, you don't want to stay stuck in places that don't feed you and don't make you feel alive. Those are the things that will make you say, you know what, I'm throwing it all away. We don't want to throw it all away. We want to hone in on what works for you. And so I think it's so important. And again, it's about being willing to have the experience so that you can grow into a space that feels good for you. And it's not going to happen out the gate. That's not going to happen with you trying it for the first time and saying, you know what, I tried, I don't want to do it anymore, or I tried and let's just stick with this formula because it's working. No, it comes from you experimenting and getting clear and making choices, because we all have access to choice. Yeah. So I love that. And I appreciate you sharing that. So is there anything else that you would say, especially for like the folks just being in the same vein, people are aspiring podcasters or new podcasters or people near their 11th season of a podcast, and they're thinking, you know what, I've done this, and maybe they aren't expanding, or maybe they have, but they're just consistently doing the podcast. Aspiring new veteran, what is your advice for podcasters, either to get started or to keep going?
Okay, so my advice I always say to get started is get started. Like, it's as simple as that, right? Because going back to what you were just saying, like, you learn as you go, and you could reiterate in your head what this thing is going to be, feel, look like, right? But until you get started, you won't have that solid evidence that you need to continue to hone, right? If you talk to any podcaster, I guarantee you not one is going to tell you that my first episode is the best episode I ever put out. The first episode is usually the worst episode, but you won't know it until you get better and you keep trying, right? Like, of course, when you put it out, you're going to think this is the best thing that was ever created. And then you get to episode 50 and you listen to episode 1 and you be like, what in the world did I do? But you had to do one to get to, so go. And whether that go looks like you needing some kind of education in relation to that thing, if you can't afford to hire a coach or to purchase an online training, Google is your friend. YouTube University is your friend. Taking that knowledge and go, right? In relation to current podcasters, I would say be true to you, right? So the difference between my podcasting now versus my podcasting in 2018 is that in 2018, I was very stiff. Like, I was so used to fitting into this corporate square, right? And I brought that outlook with me into podcasting when I was very formal and this and that. And now I am being more authentic, and the conversations are more enriching, and I'm okay with the fact that I say like every other word and that I don't enunciate correctly, right? Like I said, God was being real funny when he picked me to be a podcaster, because a lot of words, I don't know how to say them. And I wonder, what the heck am I doing here? But the people like me, right? So I'm here and I'm gonna be here. I would say be true to you. Like, your thing does not have to look like anybody else's thing. You don't have to sound like the other people. You don't have to be politically correct. You really don't. Like, podcasting is one of the safest spaces that you have to actually be yourself, right? Do that thing. And then I will also say, don't be afraid to pivot if you need to pivot. Like, maybe this podcast that you're doing is not the one that you should be doing. Maybe it was the one that you needed to start to get you closer to the one that you're supposed to do. So sometimes it is okay to let that thing go and reimagine what it actually should be and could be, and venture into that lane.
That's amazing. I love it. I don't got nothing else to say to it. Listen to Nicole. So one more question for you. You joined Afros in Audio 2 years ago. Thank you very much for choosing. And tell me about your experience, and you can really focus it around the conference itself if you'd like. But yeah, being a part of Afros in Audio, your experience at the conference, what has that been like for you?
Oh man, listen, when I tell you, so prior to going to Afros in Audio, let's think about it. It might give me a second, show. I'm going into my memory. She's 41 years old. So I've been to 4 in-person podcasting conferences, some of the largest ones out, right? And several virtual, right? This was the first of those that I felt just so around my people. And don't get me wrong, all podcasters are my people, right? So I feel connected when I go to the other ones as well, but it was a different kind of connection. Like, it was like a family reunion. Like, it was so amazing. And then because I've immersed myself in the podcasting space, I knew some of these people, right? So knew them virtually, but to get to see people that you've been working with and networking with for years in person, like it was just so welcomed, and people were so helpful. I'll never forget one of the people I was talking to. They're like, what's your purpose? What's your purpose for this thing? Asking me thought-provoking questions, and just all of that. Like, just truly amazing. And then on top of the fact that because I am a part of the Afros in Audio team, like, it made me feel like a celebrity. I'm gonna just let y'all know. And I don't need no reason to make my head bigger than it already is. It ain't hurt to be felt like a celebrity. It didn't hurt at all. So It was just really a validation that I needed, that I've probably been searching for a long time, a connectedness that I needed, again, that I've been searching for a long time, that I've heard other people from some of those other podcasting conferences get, right? But there, I never got it, right? Like I got that at Afros and Audio, like super, super amazing, right? So that was my experience as far as being at the conference. I do want to talk about my experience as far as working with Afros and Audio. So me deciding to work with Afros and Audio as the sponsorship manager, first of all, full transparency, I didn't know what I was about to be doing. Like I didn't know, but I'm learning to believe in my capabilities, right? Because I'm very smart at a lot of things. So with research and with the skills that I have, they can be transitioned to many different arenas, right? So I came on as sponsorship manager, not completely knowing exactly what this thing would look like, right? But I did what I had to do to make it happen because that's just who I am. And in doing that, have been successful 2 years in a row, looking forward to being successful again. And then on top of that, it has sparked a whole nother business path for me. People are now coming to me because they want me to help them get sponsors for their events, for their podcasts, right? And this is actually the way that I'm leaning towards being my main thing in my business, right? And it's all because I decided to help Afros and Audio, right? So I could go on, right? Super, super amazing. So grateful. I said yes to being sponsorship manager. So grateful. I am a part of the Women of Color podcasters because that's where I first learned of Afros and Audio, because I applied. I was a speaker the first year when it was, I think the first virtual year I spoke on one of the panel From Darkness to Light. Let me tell y'all about this synchronicity, right? From Darkness to Light. I think that was the name of it. I think that was the name, From Darkness to Light. But what let me know that's where I belonged is because on my 100th episode of my podcast, I shared my story and I literally titled the episode From Darkness to Light, right? So when I tell you like everything was totally aligned, right? And you just know, like when you see those serendipitous moments that you couldn't make up if you tried to, like that lets you know that you are right where you're supposed to be, right at the right time.
Absolutely. And I didn't even know that story. So that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, it's been my pleasure to have you on the team. I'm so grateful that you decided to be a part of it and that you were willing to expand and grow inside this, because I know myself as the leader that I am inside of this, my goal is to hold people high and bring you in and say, I believe you can do this. We ain't gonna worry about nothing. And wherever I can help and support, then we're gonna set this up for success. We're gonna make this happen. As long as you're willing to go there with me, then I'm gonna go there with you. And that's what we've been able to do. So I appreciate you being a part of the team. I don't plan on losing you ever. And and that's just that on that. And yeah, and we just continue to grow this. But I see a lot of amazing opportunities for the future of this role that you're in, but also as we grow Afros and Audio together, our community of podcasters that are so deserving for people such as you to be in a leadership role and to support the movement. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And I agree.
Awesome. All right. So before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to talk about or promote with the folks before we end the interview?
Yeah, so I will, let's say, talk about, right? So I always like to, part of my thing is motivation, inspiration, right? So I truly believe in whatever you do, especially in relation to entrepreneurship. And like I talk about entrepreneurship a lot because that's part of the background of what I do with my podcast, but you should also treat your podcast like a business, right? So even if you're not an entrepreneur and you have a podcast, I'm talking to you too, right? And in relation to entrepreneurship, into podcasting, right? Mindset plays a big role in the whole thing. And I like to rely on quotes a lot. So some of the quotes that have helped me along the way is, if you believe you can or you can't, you're right. So always believe that you can, because you can. Look at me, I'm a living testimony in relation to that, and being a sponsorship manager for Afros and Audio, right? Another quote that I like is, nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible, right? And the quote from Marianne Williamson, and I'm not going to get the thing 100% correct, but basically my paraphrase of that is, give yourself permission for your light to shine. And that's something that I had to do when first stepping out into entrepreneurship, because like I said, I came out of a dark place. Like, I did a lot of things that I'm not necessarily proud of, and lived a lifestyle that I'm not proud of. I'm grateful for it because it made me into the person I am today. But again, not the proudest of, right? Part of that made me not want to let my light shine. Who am I to be this person? Or who am I, blah, blah, blah. But just like the quote says, who are you not to be? So believe in yourself, right? And allow yourself to shine a light, because when you shine your light, you encourage other people to shine theirs, right? So all of those things. And as far as promotion, yeah, if you are looking for someone to help you with your media kit, right, so that you can reach out and get sponsors, I am her. If you're looking for someone to actually do the outreach in relation to getting you sponsors, I am her, right? So book a call. WinHersUnited.com/book a call, and we'll talk to see if I'm actually the her that's right to work with you.
Awesome, awesome. So how can people find you?
You can find me at WinHersUnited.com. The links to all my social media is from there, at WinHers United on all of the socials. I post more on my personal page, but if you go to at WinHers United, I'm a Facebooker. So somebody made fun of me. They call me old because I prefer Facebook over the other mediums. Yeah, I'm on the other ones, right? So I get the messages. So at WinHers United on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And from Facebook at WinHers United, you'll see posts from my actual page, which is where I'm more active. Send me a friend request, send me a DM. I am very responsive.
All right, thank you. I so appreciate this conversation today. I appreciate the relationship that we've been able to build over these past few years, and sky's the limit. And I'm very proud of what you've accomplished, not only for what we've been doing, but also over your life. You are a testament. And I'm super proud of you. I really am. So thank you. And let's just keep going.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to close this out. Just stay right there for me. All right. So I want to give a big thanks to our Afros and Audio and Black podcast community for supporting our commitment for community and collaboration. If you'd like to join the Black Podcasters Association, the link will be in the description below. And if you want to join us at the 5th annual Afros and Audio Podcast Festival, visit bit.ly/AFAUFAQ, which will also be in the description. Follow us on all social media channels at Afros and Audio. And thanks again, Nicole, for being a part of Afros and Audio's first ever Black History Month interview series. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.